let's begin. We're looking at multimedia. That's what we're starting on, okay? So, you guys know, I really like to get at where words come from. They help us to understand things. So, before we look at multimedia, let's look at the parts of this word, right? So, multi, I think you guys know what multi means. It just means many. Thank you. More than one, right? Okay, multiple is where we get that word. Now, media. As you probably recognize, media is a plural. It's a plural of medium. Thank you. Now, we actually dealt with this a little while ago, but let's just revise it. The word medium, what does it actually refer to? What kinds of contexts do we see the word medium come up in? Well, there's a TV show called Medium, right? What's that about? Yeah, it's about there's a mind reader, and she can sort of access this other world. She's the medium. Okay. Where else do we see this? We usually call it a size, right? There's small, and then there's medium, and then there's large. Sorry, large. So what does medium mean? It just means in between. Right? So when we're talking about the TV show, right, that the main character, the protagonist, she's a medium between, us, normal human beings, and this other sort of spiritual world which other people can't sense. So she's the in-between person. And here, medium as a size just means it's in between small and large, right? That's all medium means. It's in between, okay? Now if that's what a medium is, what's media? And in the context of our course, what are we talking about, right? Is any way, anything that can be in between two others, right? And so specifically, we're thinking about data and communications and sending data through from a data source to you. And the medium is what's in between. Does that make sense? Okay. So for instance, right now, the medium that we have for you to the computer that I'm drawing on right now is this screen. That's the medium, right? Now, coming back to, looking over here, there are 5 basic kinds of media. By the way, just be careful when you're using plural, singular. Media is the plural, right? What are the 5 basic kinds of media? Now, this is a little bit confusing at first, but I hope you'll see why it makes sense. It's really, really similar to the 5 basic data types with a couple of crucial differences. So let's just revise. There's 5 kinds of data. What are they? Let's go from simplest to most complex. What's the first one? Numerical. Good. Okay. We have numbers, followed very shortly by text. And then these 3 are kind of different. They're much bigger. Where do we go first? Image. Yeah, good. Pictures. And then the stuff that you hear, right? So that's audio. And then the last one, the most complicated of all of them, is video, right? Which we would say is composed of audio and lots of images. Yeah? Okay. Now, there's the data types. We learned this right at the beginning of the course. The 5 kinds of multimedia are almost the same. They're slightly different. I'll show you. The 5 media types look like this. And I'll explain in a second why, or maybe you can work out why there's this change. Numerical and text, okay? When we're talking about media, they get rolled into one, okay? Numerical, text. In much the same way, do you remember when we were looking at the databases? We said that all 3 of these guys, right, they get rolled into one type. Do you remember what they were called? Had a funny name? They were called blobs, right? Binary large objects, okay? So, in a similar sort of way, numerical and text get rolled into one media type here. Numerical text. Okay. The next 3 are just these 3. Image, audio, video. Okay, so that's all the same. Now there's one left. Where would it come from? You're probably thinking, I don't know, that looks pretty comprehensive to me. The 5th and last media type is animation. Now, you might be wondering, why does animation end up on its own, right? Why is it separated off from, say, video, right? Well, it's a little bit different, as you'll see in a second. Question? Yeah? No? Okay. We'll keep going. All right. Now, For each of these, and I'm going to get you guys to brainstorm in a second, we'll come back together. When you think about each of these media types we just looked at, they've got particular features and strengths, okay? And therefore, on the flip side, they also have limitations and drawbacks. And those two in combination, they mean we pick certain data types for certain things, okay? When you're trying to convey information, right, that's what a medium is for, sometimes the most fitting type will be numerical text. Other times you go for an image. Sometimes you go for some combination. That's why we say multimedia, right? Sometimes video is the best, and if you tried to convey something that's good for video through numerical text, it'd be really, really inappropriate, okay? So, let me just give you, let's start off by saying, what are some of the really obvious advantages, disadvantages for each of these types? Let's just think about this, okay? Well, some of them go together. For instance, audio and video, one of their main disadvantages is size. Compared to the rest of the data types, they're huge, right? Orders of magnitude larger, okay? Thousands of times larger. Numerical and text, they're the most efficient, okay? But there's some disadvantages to those as well, right? Numerical and text, they're not very engaging. Sitting down and reading is a time-consuming process, and it can often be very boring, right, depending on what kind of thing has been written. But I hope you can see each of these kinds of drawbacks, right, they also have their own strengths. So even though we might say, oh, numerical text, it's not super exciting, it doesn't grab you when you look at a page of text, right? You think, oh, text wall, you know, that kind of thing. But actually, what's one of the great things about the text data type? It can convey a lot of detail in a very compact space, right? You see how that's sort of the opposite of this size thing? It's very, very small in data size, and you can convey lots and lots of detail very precisely, okay? Audio and video, of course, by contrast to numerical text, they're really interesting and exciting. If you want to convey something, grab people's attention, maybe if you're marketing things, right? Audio and video are far more effective, okay? Which is why if you look at advertisements, even in, say, a newspaper, right, which we would think is more of this end of the scale, those kinds of advertisements, they're going to heavily use images because it grabs people, right? You're looking through, you're piecing through, and you're thinking, oh, that grabs my eye. Now, these aren't the only ones. There are other particular purposes you can think about for the other media types and why. So I'm going to get you guys to think about that for a little while, and then we're going to look particularly at animation. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes.